Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we have a guest who was here about a year ago, had just stepped into the job, and we're going to check in and see what has happened since. It's the Economic Development Director, Leonard Sledge. Welcome back, Leonard.
Thank you, Robin. It's so good to be sitting back in the hot seat again.
Hey, you're happy now because you've got some successes you can talk about. You guys had a great year.
We did have a great year. Fiscal 14.
And just to remind people,
yes.
The city is we don't do real years. We do fiscal years. They're
Fiscal
different
years.
than the federal fiscal year, so it's July 1 to
Correct.
June 30.
July 1 to June 30. During that time period, we booked $75 million in new capital investment for economic development projects in the city of Hampton. Just under 1,000 new jobs to the city, and a lot of commercial real estate that either changed hands, was leased, or renovated in some way. It was a banner year for us.
And you know, I gotta look. I've looked at that list of projects, and there's not one overall theme there.
No.
We're seeing stuff in different parts of the city. We're seeing retail. We're seeing restaurants. We're seeing, bigger. Tell us some of the bigger ones.
Well, probably the largest project of the year was actually an existing business expansion, which is always great. Alcoa Howmet has been in the city of Hampton for 40 years, and this year we announced a $25 million project with them. They're bringing a new technology, a new advanced airfoil into production at their Hampton facility, and it's one that can revolutionize.
What's an airfoil?
An airfoil. That's a very good question.
We're a little less into this.
An airfoil is basically one of the blades in the jet engines.
Gotcha. Why don't they just say that?
Doesn't sound as interesting. But it's a great project for us. There'll be 75 new jobs to the facility, what we would consider high-wage, high-skilled jobs. And it's just an overall great opportunity.
And this is like a new, it's top secret, new technology that they have invented and are beginning to put into production. So
Correct.
Hopefully this has a pretty good long life going forward
Correct.
too.
This particular technology was developed at one of their other research and development centers in the United States, and the Hampton facility in the city of Hampton, Hampton, we competed against the other cities where Alcoa Howmet has current facilities. Unfortunately,
and that's a lot. Were they even only looking in the U.S.? Because Alcoa is international.
They were only looking in the U.S. The states that we competed against, it slipped from my memory right now, but it was about 3 or 4 other states. We were able to put together a compelling proposal to land the project here. We had great support from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yes, I saw the governor when he came to make that announcement.
Yeah,
That
Governor McAuliffe was here,
one.
and Secretary Jones, who's the Secretary of Commerce and Trade.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great collaborative partnership. Again, just to help bring more work to the Hampton facility.
That is good. And those are manufacturing jobs, but
Yes.
they're high tech. Manufacturing is not the assembly line it used to be. These are going to be pretty high tech jobs that will require skills,
Yes.
but not necessarily college degrees.
Correct. It's interesting. The people, there's still a misnomer that you need a 4-year college degree to do well in life in terms of finances, salaries, wages, and so forth. Well, people with 2-year degrees and sometimes less than 2-year degrees have many great job prospects. We partner greatly with Thomas Nelson Community College, the Peninsula Council for Workforce Development, and other workforce development providers, not just in the city but in the region, to help make sure that the citizens in the city of Hampton have opportunities and exposure for not just a high-wage, high-skilled job, but the educational and training opportunity to be in position to be successful in those high-wage, high-skilled jobs.
Cool. Okay, I keep interrupting you. What else? What else you got, Leonard?
But to your point about just the wide breadth of new businesses and expansions that were here, you were absolutely correct. Touched nearly every part of the city, a number of different industry types. And again, it was just a great year. We had new retail to pop up in the city, in the Coliseum Central area. We had Panda Express is one that comes to mind.
Yes.
Mooyah Burgers comes to mind.
And they're wonderful, by the way. Steak and Shake still
Shake.
has line. I haven't been able to get through on that one yet. But I think it's getting better.
Steak and Shake, this was their first store in the Hampton Roads Market. Market.
Right.
For all of the Steak and Shake fans, they'd have to go up to Richmond, to Laburnum, the shops at Laburnum, where there is a Steak and Shake. It was absolutely phenomenal to see how not just Hamptonians, but people throughout the region have embraced that Steak and Shake.
Right, and they're so close to the interstate. You know, you could be leaving Virginia Beach and going somewhere and pop right off and drive through.
I've spoken with people who live in Virginia Beach who've said they come to Hampton just to go to Steak and Shake.
Oh my gosh. And you know, because we do the website and the Facebook page, and the restaurants get more likes, get more enthusiasm because they touch all of our lives. And you know, it's a mixed bag because they're not the highest wage payers. They're not necessarily the best jobs, but they also add to the tax base because you have that restaurant tax. So, you know, when you land a big company, you get the property tax, you get the machinery and tools, but they're not sort of generating. I mean, we need our restaurants and our retail for the city's tax base.
Retail and restaurants, different shops and boutiques, yes, they do add to the retail, they add to the tax base, the revenue base of the city, but they also help to create a sense of place in the city of Hampton. We live in a society now where more and more people are foodies, whether they're vegan, whether they're vegetarian, whether they're omnivores or carnivores, whatever it is, there's a lot of social gathering and a lot of connectivity that happens around food. Again, we've been very successful in recent years with adding to our retail base. And as we were discussing earlier before coming on air, even one of Hampton's newest companies, Mango Preserves, they were on QVC yesterday for the very first time, and the inventory that they had for that particular airing, they sold out. And so companies like that, Graham and Rollins,
I know, they have exploded.
They have just exploded
on the television and the national scene.
Yes.
You know, those of us in Hampton have eaten their seafood for years, but when you get that larger market on the internet or TV, it's very good for business.
It's always good to know that what people all over the country are dialing up and ordering, we can go right down the street and pick up.
I know. They told me once that there are people from Hampton who pay that shipping charge instead of driving over to Armistead Avenue and picking up some frozen crab cakes. We got to tell them they can save a little money.
Yeah, but our industrial parks are still doing very well. One company that comes to mind that's in the Copeland Industrial Park, Ruhr Pumping. They service large industrial pumps. They came to Hampton 2 years ago to open up a service center, and I guess they like the city, they like the workforce. They're actually opening up their second service center to focus on nuclear pumps, also in the Copeland Industrial Park. It's good for us to have existing facilities that are available, again, so that as needs arise for companies, there's something there for them to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a mix, too. The Cosentino announcement. Now, I don't know if they're even up and operating yet. Sometimes we announce these things, and it's a little while before they're in production.
Cosentino was actually about a year and a half ago, maybe nearly 2 years ago, but they're in the Copeland Industrial Park as well. Cosentino is an importer of Spanish hard countertop surfaces, really fancy countertops. And they have a large space in the Interchange Park, which is in Copeland, one of the large warehousing and distribution buildings that are there. And they've been a great corporate partner in the city of Hampton as well. I'd also be remiss if I didn't talk about a company that's headquartered in Hampton that actually announced the project as well. A company that's headquartered downtown in the Harbor Center building called Faneuil. Faneuil does customer contact centers all across the country, and they announced a new 22,000 square foot operation that's actually going to be at the Peninsula Town Center in its office building space. And we're really glad that Anna Van Buren and her team saw fit to locate that project in Hampton.
And that is interesting. And of course, Anna's from here, and she has a long history, but she's a business owner, and she did look at other options.
Yes.
It was, as I understand it, a very, very tough, tough fight for you there.
We never take anything for granted. I mean, we hopefully always think we have the inside track, particularly when people have a long-term love and affinity for the city. But we never take it for granted. Whether it's a large company or a small company, we pursue with the intent of getting a yes for the city and the citizens.
And that's a pretty high number of jobs. It was 400-ish?
It was about 400
Yeah.
jobs, and that'll be phased in over a period of time. But we're really excited. I mean, it's a great project for the city. It's a great project in that it's located in a great location at Peninsula Town Center, and it just puts a lot of bodies there in the center.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is as people work there and that whole live, work, play idea, they'll do their lunches there. It'll
Right.
generate more for the tax revenue. And these things kind of, pile on to
Right.
create additional benefits.
Right. So, as times have changed and as the interest of people have changed, cities have had to change and evolve with it. I don't recall if I shared it the last time I was here on the show with you, but when I was a kid, I saw Star Wars at the Coliseum Mall. It was a great mall. Movie arcade, Golden Pizza was there. It was nothing like having a cherry soda and a slice of pepperoni pizza from Golden Pizza. But times changed, and that particular product became outdated. And fortunately, there were people who had the desire to move forward with the redevelopment of that site. And it is a very good center.
I recently saw a national news story about what percentage of the country's malls were now that outdoor center style, and how many of the ones that didn't convert are now closed.
Yes.
And we are really fortunate that those owners were proactive, put that investment in, that the city worked with them to create a place that is much more vibrant, in fact, than
that
the
is
mall
a very
had
good
been.
point. And I actually got a chance to see it up close and personal when my wife and I and our family, when we were traveling to Atlanta this summer. Atlanta still has a large residential base, still a building boom in many parts of the city. And I was actually a little heartbroken to see some of the older indoor malls closed down. It was a large ghost town. And so that phenomenon still is happening all over the city, all over the country.
All over the country, that's right. Yeah. We're very lucky. And that Coliseum Central area represents, I've gotten different numbers from the business office, but it's somewhere 80-85% of our retail sales. I mean, it wasn't just the center that it helped. It helped, the one behind it. It helped the strips beside it. It's really an expanding area. And then working together with the Bass Pro area and things like that, you've got people go to one and then hop around.
Yes.
It's a destination.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. It's a destination, and more economic developers across the country, more localities, they're focusing on how can we create destinations, a reason for people to want to be here in our city. And if you think about Hampton, there are a number of good reasons, great reasons. I mean, there's access to waterways, there are the beaches, there's access to great retail, there's access to a lot of smart people in terms of research universities and NASA Langley Research Center. There's a destination because of sports and our other different types of tourism opportunities. There are just a number of great reasons. And then when you overlay our great neighborhoods on top of that, it's just a great place to be.
I think so too, obviously. So you've had a couple of announcements or leaks, I'm not sure exactly what it was, in the last couple of months since we've been in fiscal 15. Let's talk about FedEx. I know they're not announcing anything, but they did comment to the newspaper, so that is on the record now.
Well, for the record, we always like to try to be the first people to share the great news about what's happening in the city of Hampton, and in that particular instance we weren't, but we worked with the Daily Press to make sure that the information got out in an appropriate way. But FedEx Ground will be opening up a 200,000 square foot small package handling facility in the Langley Research and Development Park. For those who aren't familiar with Langley, it's located off of Magruder Boulevard, and it sits right behind the Langley Speedway. It's a great project and a great part of town, and we're excited about it.
And if I recall, the Daily Press was sort of comparing it to the UPS facility that is in that city, and it's about 3 or 4 times as big as that. I was like, wow.
It is.
200,000 is not a number that I can, square feet is not something that I can visualize, not being in your business or commercial real estate. That's big.
It's very big. After they cleared the area to do some of the on-site work to get the pad ready for the construction, you really get a new appreciation for what 22 acres looks like.
Wow.
The Economic Development Authority sold land to the developer who's building the building for FedEx Ground.
For how much? How much did we get for that?
The sale on that property was just over $1.3 million, and the Economic Development Authority, the City of Hampton, will net approximately $900,000 from the sale of that.
We have to help build some roads and some infrastructure,
yes,
right?
some of that money is going towards infrastructure there. Yeah.
But, you know, that's a big one.
It is.
I mean, really, they haven't said exactly how many jobs, but when you think of what you're going to need to work a facility that size, it's going to be a good number of jobs. Right. And they're not known for paying minimum wage. They're known for being an employer that works with their workforce and wants a stable, well-trained, customer-focused workforce.
We're thrilled that they're here. FedEx has had a presence in the city for a number of years at the Hampton Road Center Central business park, a place where customers could drop off packages and pick up packages and so forth. And we're just ecstatic that they're going bigger and larger with the FedEx Ground facility here. There's been some other announcements since the start of the new fiscal year, since July 1st. One of those, Ferguson. Ferguson is headquartered in Newport News, but they made a strategic decision to relocate their national sales center to the city of Hampton. That's a great project in that they're leasing over 40,000 square feet in a building in the Hampton Road Center Central Office Park. They've renovated the building, they've moved in their workforce, and they have started operations there. And so it's great that they have an office presence here.
That is good. And some of that was transferring folks, but some of it is new hires.
Some of it will be
They're in an expansion mode. I just read their sales numbers were up, 10% recently. I mean, they're really in a growth mode, and they're plumbing and fixtures company, pretty high end, but also big commercial sales. And this is, as you said, their international sales office.
Yeah, the national sales office. And one thing about a company like Ferguson, when new home construction is going great, guess what? People need those things. As people are staying in their homes longer, guess what? There are repairs that need to be made. I mean, you should see the list of repairs I have to make at my house.
Right. Well, when times are tight, people don't do that. People aren't building and moving, and they're not doing a lot of renovation. And when things start to get better, you see these ripple effects on a lot of industries. Right.
And so I think it's one, being a plumbing part supplier, fixtures, the number of different things. And they have such a broad array of innovative products as well, both for residential and commercial uses. I'll probably end up stopping in one of the Ferguson stores so I can start scratching some things off of my list.
That's great. Well, one of the things since I've been at the city, I used to work at a newspaper, and you have deadline. And a long-term project is, 2-3 weeks tops. I mean, there's a few that are longer than that. This economic development business, I mean, you have to have a completely different mentality and level of patience. It takes a long time.
It's a marathon.
It really is.
It's, it's not uncommon for projects to take years. And in many regards, in most regards, it starts with the cultivation of relationships and understanding what companies' strategic plans are for real estate, growth, sales, expansion, and so on. And sometimes it's being in the right place at the right time. And so our economic development team, we've developed a marketing calendar so that we can properly vet opportunities to figure out where it is we need to be so that we can talk to the people who are critical and essential to the site selection process for companies large and small.
And then, I mean, you've got all of that, but then you also have to cultivate your existing folks, like Faneuil, like Tysinger, like Mango, which is small now. But these companies, you have to be ready to know what they're going to need as they grow, so they stay here. Because, I mean, people forget, they're here, but they have other opportunities and incentives from other places to leave.
Economic development, it can be, if the bottom line is about how much money will the locality give me, then that may not be the best project for a city. It has to make sound fiscal sense. And we make sure that all of the projects where we have different incentive packages, that we understand that there's a good return.
You look
or
at the
internal
payback
rate of
period. The
return.
ROI is
Exactly.
basically, I've seen your charts, and you say, okay, this, the initial investment or incentive will be paid off in X number of years
Right.
based on their projections
Correct.
for tax revenue to the city. And I don't think other people necessarily understand that, but that's the equation you look at.
We never give away a blank check.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you, Leonard. We need to
you.
wrap up, but I hope you'll come back periodically. I know that you have new announcements to make at some point, and but just also to talk about this process and how you work with companies and what lures companies to come to this area or to stay and expand here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about the new investment that has come or is coming to Hampton and how Leonard and his team work together to promote that. Thank you.